Hi, this is Christine from Diary of a Businesswoman, and I'd love to say, here's Charlotte, but Charlotte's not very well today. But we thought we'd go ahead because we've got a really interesting speaker, and that is Brian Moffat from the Petroleum Detective. Tell me, Brian, give me a little bit of background about yourself and the Petroleum Detective.
I'd never thought of starting my own business, and then I found myself being made redundant, and it's a great incentive. It gets that push to make me do it. And the petroleum detective was an idea of marrying different disciplines and coming up with a solution. So what really inspired me was when I was made redundant was, well, what am I going to do? What's different? And I loved watching that Silent Witness program. They had a little
Yeah,
team of people, and they had such great lines in this. They would things like, well, the maggots on this body are 13 centimeters long. The body must have been here for a fortnight at this temperature. I thought, that's amazing. I'd love to do that, but I don't know much about dead bodies. What I can do is rope together the bits of information, experience that I did have, and use that. And that's what launched it. And we've had a number of world first solutions. And at the beginning, because I hadn't come in on a traditional path of, for instance, an MSc in petroleum engineering, I thought that was going to be a great disadvantage. But in fact, the bits that I did know, the people with those qualifications didn't have. So it was a fortuitous good fit, really.
brilliant. And today we're going to pick your brains about public speaking and tell me what got you into public speaking.
When I started the job, uh, invented this petroleum detective idea, I knew that I would need to give quite a few talks, and I had attended a lot of technical talks and had really felt to the bottom of my heart what death by PowerPoint meant. I have attended some excruciatingly boring technical talks, full of jargon, full of bullet points, people talking at text instead of just speaking, and you think, do I read the text? Do I listen? I thought, I don't want to be like that at all. So, so I started learning about public speaking, and it served me very well. We've had some successful talks, industry presentations, conferences, and things. And I always make sure they're interesting and entertaining because it's so easy to be put to sleep by talks. So that was it. It has also proved useful in life. I did eulogies for both my parents at funerals, and it's also very good for just sort of giving confidence in life of a good way of being yourself. Because often we feel good in our own skin, we know what we mean, but actually conveying that to someone else in a way that doesn't come out all jumbled is not always easy. So I found that very useful.
That's brilliant. Yeah, you're right. That I agree with you. It does make you more confident and clearer when you're putting your words together and explaining things. But yeah, that's fascinating. So, what would you say were your top 10 tips for public speaking?
It very much depends on what the sort of talk is. So, for instance, if it's a eulogy, you would have, that would be reflective. If it's a best man speech, you want it entertaining and probably a little more embarrassing for the bridegroom than he would be comfortable with. And technical talks is the one that I have had most dealings with. I think the most important thing there is really start with the end in mind. What do you want to convey? What is the outcome of the talk? What do you want to do to people as a result of that? You might want to persuade them away from something towards a new technique. You might want to explain the benefits of something. So it's a lot of it's persuasive. And I think the biggest mistake that people make is putting the cart before the horse. So what they do, they say, got to give a talk. I better get some PowerPoint slides ready. And the focus is on PowerPoint. So and all the thoughts go on the PowerPoint. So you can end up with lots of text, lots of bullet points. And that immediately gives the audience a problem. Because if you're talking to PowerPoint or bullet points, does the person in the audience listen to your voice, or do they read the text? And if the two are not quite the same, there's a conflict. And if they are the same, it's just duplication. So have you talking as the primary focus. If you need slides, then you have those to support what you're saying. But you don't talk to the PowerPoint slides. You talk from yourself, from your heart. And if you need slides, then you call on them. They are subservient to your talk. So put yourself and your message out first. I think that's the main thing. It's very useful to look at what other people do. There's lots of TED Talks on YouTube. Hardly anyone uses PowerPoint on that. Again, it's the person on a stage, uncluttered. So it's their personality that's coming through. It's what they think. And as human beings, that's how we like to interact. Advertisements on television, it's not quite the same thing, but you never see a bullet point on those. It's people with cornflake packets and family life, and that's engaging. We are human beings. We're not graph receptors or statistical histograms receptors. In the first instance, yes, you might need some of those to explain your point, but those are subservient to what you're trying to say. What else can we say? Avoid jargon as well. Acronyms. You know what they are. Within certain industry settings, you might get away with it because it's a shorthand, but you never know who's in the audience, and they might not know, and they might have come in to see, what it's all about. So if you use all these MWD or whatever, if it's in drilling, you think, oh, what the heck's that? What's he on about? And while they're wondering what it's on about, they're not listening to what you're saying. So absolutely avoid jargon. Another thing is to make the conversation, if you're describing things, make it vivid, make the language interesting, so that people, oh yeah, I like the way you put that. Well, that's really interesting. That really brings it to life. So how we say things is important, and also getting to the point. I've heard a lot of people they've lost the audience by the end of the introduction. Oh, hi, I'm so and so, and yes, I've run this accountancy business since when was it? It was yeah, it was 1970, and right, it's gone. Start with something attention grabbing. Have you ever had a problem with rats in your drain pipe? What? If you have, you'll find this very interesting. Oh, what's he on about rats? Whatever it is, grab their attention and then don't let go of it. When people come to listen to you, they are already on your side. They want to be entertained. They don't want to be sent to sleep. So they're on your side to start with. So don't lose them. Other top tips: try and keep to short sentences. So you don't want to bamboozle them, because people take in a lot in talks. There's a lot going on, and you might be the 7th speaker in a 10-speaker program, and I think, oh, is it tea time yet? When's the break? I could do with a biscuit. How many more talks before that? So make it easy for them. Spoon feed them in the delivery. Don't use long things that they have to ruminate on a lot in order to get it. If you do, and this is another really good trick, is use silence, because if you stop talking, it immediately gives a dynamic tension, and people, oh, we stopped talking. What's here? Have I missed something? What? And a pause can be as effective as condensed words. And we all need a break. We can't, our brains do get fatigued. The pause can be very, very effective in a talk. Body language. Are the facial expressions, are the gestures, are they consistent with what you're saying? Do they make you look authentic, as though you know what you're talking about, that you own the topic that you're talking about? Would you be reasonably looked at as an expert in this field? Or is he reading from a script? Where does he get this from? Does he really know what he's talking about? What else is on? Yeah. So that's something else. What else? You want to end, particularly if you're in a business, you try and end with a call to action to further get your audience to do something. So it might be, if you've got a problem with what I've just talked about, do give us a call. Here's our number. And leave that on the screen while you take any questions, so that they can write it down. Your email, telephone number, or whatever you want to say. Ask the audience if they've got any problems. You've just talked about it. Get audience engagement as well. You get a hand up saying, "Oh, I've got something a bit similar to this. Do you think it would work?" You think, well, very likely. Send me some details and we'll have a look at it and see what we can do. Try and get that interaction. So establish credibility, be approachable, cite previous clients as well. You might get a question and say, "Oh yes, we did that. We solved that for Shell and BP. This is quite common actually. People don't know this, but this phenomenon it pops up quite regularly, and people don't always understand the reason for it. But we've looked at this and we've got some answers for this. So yeah, contact me later. That'd be good to catch up. Thanks." So, how are we doing?
We're doing great. That's fantastic. One of the things that someone told me years ago was that about PowerPoint was that we can't read and listen at the same time. Similarly, you can't write and listen, although I find I can. I can write and listen to somebody at the same time. That's probably secretarial training, though. But that PowerPoint should be visual, that
Yes.
the part of the brain that looks at pictures is separate to the part of the brain that listens and sees.
I totally agree. The last presentation I gave, there were no bullets, there was no text at all. It was just images, and that holds people's attention.
Yeah, it does.
And you don't
Definitely.
get this conflict in the head of, am I listening? Am I reading? It's we're not really equipped for it.
Yeah,
It can be a good trick to have two versions of a presentation. If people miss it or they want to find out more about it afterwards, have two versions. Have one to present live on the day with zero text, no bullet points, just images. But to send one out after the event, you might want to do that, because then you can have enough explanation without you being there to talk. If they can't see it, that can be very useful. And people can read much more quickly, so they don't have to spend however long it is over the whole presentation to go through it, where they can see it quickly on PowerPoint slides on a screen, but without sound. So that can be useful. So the two versions trick, that can be very helpful. Yeah.
That's absolutely brilliant, Brian. And perhaps we might get you back at some point to do a presentation to us, do one of your fun ones that I've witnessed a couple of times that are really good and entertaining. So today, actually, I think that what I got from you was that start with the end in mind, so that you know where you are on your journey, because it is like a journey, isn't it? Be persuasive. Only use slides as a support tool, and preferably visual rather than written. Um, when you're coming up to prepare for a talk, look at other people's talks, and you cited TED Talks and even adverts on television. Look at how they get their point across. And I suppose adverts on television tell you what's working and what isn't.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
really
How
good.
does it affect you? Yes. If you were in the audience listening to what you're prepared to be, that's a good check. And the other thing is probably most important, I don't know why I haven't mentioned it, is rehearse, practice.
Yeah.
It's what you're not trying to do is to be someone else. You're not trying to be some zippy salesman or something. You're not trying to, what you're trying to do is to practice to be even more comfortable and natural in your own skin. So you actually present a better, easier, more natural version of you. You're not trying to train yourself to be someone else. It's just to be a more easily digestible version of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't remember who said this, but I think it's a Chinese one. If you fail to practice, you practice to fail.
That's,
And a good friend of ours used to use that quite a lot. You also said about avoiding jargon, and you're quite right. For me, it's a big switch off when people start going into jargon and acronyms. And you're right, you start looking round and you lose them. Getting to the point and using attention grabbing, and also vivid, interesting language. I love that. I think that is really what we miss out on a lot of the time. Um, and also, I agree with you, silence is so powerful. If you've started to lose your audience for whatever reason, just going quiet and taking a pause brings them back up again. It's fascinating. And thinking about body language, does it match what you're saying? Is it appropriate? And I remember I did a presentation once and you saw the video, and I'd leant forward in the audience and you said that was a really good thing to do. And I'd never even thought of it before. And I thought, wow, that was such a good help for me in confidence in doing that. And the other thing I tell you, if you have to stand on a stage, don't walk back and forth. Have you noticed people do that? I find that really annoying when it's like you're in a game of tennis. Um, if it is appropriate to whatever it is you're doing, maybe, but just to walk back and forth because you've got all this energy, I don't know, it's distracting. And ask for problems when you ask for people's questions. And then finally, have a call to action. And that is when you might use some text on your PowerPoint because you'd have your contact details there. Did I miss anything, do you think?
well, there's plenty there. I wasn't
That was
counting.
absolutely brilliant, Brian. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast for today.
Oh, thank
And
you.
we
It's been really
will
good. I enjoyed
invite
it.
you back.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good, good. Yeah, we enjoyed having you there. So thank you, and thank you, audience, for listening to us today. And we'll look forward to entertaining you again soon. Thanks, Brian.
Bye.
Bye.